I can't believe my channel is already 10 years old. I made this channel back when I was in middle school, and whether you've been here since Windows history or my Switch 2 videos, I really appreciate the support. To celebrate, I'm releasing a lot of videos that I've had ideas for quite a while, and one of them is unhinged endings in Nintendo games. I've always had a fascination with how crazy some endings can be in Nintendo games, especially the ones from the Switch and Switch 2 eras. The ending of a game can be really important, and it's helped some games become all-time classics for me. But today, I will be taking a look at some of the most unhinged endings. The endings that I was either not expecting from that type of game, or endings that still caught me off guard regardless. These endings can range from being absolutely off the walls to downright creepy. I usually think these types of endings make Nintendo games even more memorable. So without further ado, let's look at Nintendo's most unhinged endings. I love the wacky and eerie atmosphere of the original Luigi's Mansion. While I do also love the styles of Dark Moon and 3, the original game really feels special to me. And all of that energy culminates at the final boss, which is absolutely insane. It starts out with Luigi seemingly fighting against Bowser, which is already pretty unusual considering the fact that Luigi has been catching ghosts throughout the entire game. Then, once you shoot a spike ball back at Bowser, his head pops off and it's revealed that it's actually a Bowser suit being controlled by King Boo. The Bowser suit is just really disturbing. Even though it's just a Bowser suit, it looks exactly like Bowser's regular model. So I wouldn't blame anyone if they thought this was Bowser's corpse if they were playing this for the first time. On top of this, when Luigi sucks up King Boo, Bowser's dismembered head continues to attack Luigi with its eyes being completely white. There are even some points during the fight when Bowser's head is put on backwards, which adds to the nightmare fuel. What makes this even crazier is that this was the first time Nintendo has used Bowser's modern design, so this was a lot of kids' first impression of it. I wouldn't be surprised if this boss fight ruined this design for some people, but overall, I love how disturbing and unhinged this boss is. It honestly really fits this game and is a very fitting conclusion, not to mention that the music also goes hard. I can't wait for more people to experience this once Luigi's Mansion is added to Switch Online. Next up is Donkey Kong Bonanza, which will obviously contain spoilers, so if you haven't finished the game and don't want to be spoiled, skip to the timestamp on screen. But this game's ending is crazy. King K. Rool has always been known for being absolutely unhinged, from building a robot out of his wife's kitchen supplies to fighting the DK crew in a boxing ring. He has always had some absolutely insane plan up his sleeve, and of course, his grand return in Donkey Kong Bonanza had to be his most unhinged outing yet. Even right before his reveal during Void Kong's boss fight, his belly protrudes through the ground, almost tricking you into thinking it's the Bonandium root. But once the big reveal happens, he jumps down into the planet core, and this is only the start of the craziness. After you smash through the Kremlin crew, you get to the Bonandium root, and he powers himself up using the powers of the root. The penultimate boss fight is a little unhinged, giving King K. Rool a new look and some powerful attacks, but nothing too unhinged for K. Rool standards. But once you defeat him, things get even crazier. When DK and Pauline start to ascend to the surface, King K. Rool starts chasing after them using the propeller pack, and once they reach the surface, they're actually on a different part of the planet from where they started. Pauline's home of New Donk City. Then, King K. Rool uses the Bonandium root to completely take over the city. Bonandium mush floods the streets, and a giant King K. Rool statue arises from the ground, and the city becomes overrun by the Kremlin crew. Not only was it incredible to see New Donk City return, it felt like pure fan fiction to see King K. Rool taking over it like he's a comic book supervillain. It was both amazing and incredibly unhinged at the same time. But things even get crazier from here. The final boss takes place in a giant boxing ring floating above the city, similar to Donkey Kong 64. Yeah, they actually went there. And King K. Rool uses the root to become none other than the King of Rot. That reminds me of a certain other rot-obsessed crocodilian. But his design here is insane. Not something that I would expect to see in a Donkey Kong game. It almost reminds me of Ganon a little bit. And the boss fight is one of the most challenging bosses that EPD Tokyo have created, which is a good thing, by the way. It's really fun. All of K. Rool's attacks spew out tons of mush, making it challenging to traverse the ring. And hitting cannonballs back at K. Rool is incredibly satisfying. But at the end, DK punches K. Rool and he flies off into the distance. This ending is so crazy and incredible, and was absolutely the best way to bring back a fan favorite character. This video could be entirely Kirby bosses, since Kirby fighting Eldritch Horrors is just an average Tuesday for him. But that would be a bit boring, so I decided to only choose one, and that is Kirby and the Forgotten Lands ending. Remember, this is the most unhinged endings, not the creepiest or most unsettling. If that were the case, I would have picked Dreamland 3 or 64 instead. But Forgotten Land is easily the most unhinged in my opinion. Basically, things go as expected. You reach a fiery volcanic area, fight a possessed DDD, you know, the normal Kirby stuff. But once DDD sacrifices himself for a Waddle Dee while you enter the elevator, things start to shift in a strange direction. As you ascend the elevator, a voiceover for a tour of Lab Discovera starts. Hearing actual voice acting in a Kirby game was very surreal, and it gave me chills the first time I heard it. The English voiceover was actually done by K. Cal, who actually demoed the Switch 2 version of the game at Nintendo Treehouse Live, which I think is pretty interesting. The tour talks about IDF-86. The specimen, who attacked the native wildlife of the planet, was contained, utilized by humans for their own technology. Then, a subspecimen broke off, which we now know to be Elfilin. We then see hundreds of Waddle Dees force the work on to power the facility. Then, once Kirby enters the main chamber, we see the aforementioned creature contained in the lab, with a lion being mind-controlled by the creature. Once Kirby defeats Leongar, the creature attempts to absorb Elfilin to become whole. That's when it transforms into an absolute slimy abomination, absorbing Leongar as well as multiple surrounding enemies, and chases Kirby and Elfilin down a hallway. Now this is the nightmare fuel that you would expect to see in a Kirby game. I can see why this planet was abandoned now. But after this boss fight, Fecto Forgo absorbs Elfilin to become Fecto Elfilis, the ultimate life form. Wait, you're not Shadow the Hedgehog. Fecto Elfilis is not as Eldritch Horror adjacent as its previous form, but their design is pretty over the top and pretty cool looking. The boss fight itself is really fun, making good use of Kirby's dodge roll, but over the course of the fight, things keep getting crazier. Fecto Elfilis opens up these portals, sending meteors to crash down onto Kirby, and makes multiple copies of themselves to regenerate their health. Then finally, they open up a massive portal to planet Popstar, setting it in the path to collide with the Forgotten Land. Even the name of the final boss song is a clever hint towards this, being titled Two Planets Approached the Roche Limit. The Roche Limit is the point where one planet starts to disintegrate due to the tidal forces of the other planet. In this case, it would mean the complete destruction of both Kirby's planet and the Forgotten Land, showing how desperate Fecto Elfilis is. And this makes sense considering the fact that Fecto Forgo, their form without Elfilin, almost has a psychotic mental state, devoid of the compassion of Elfilin, and Elfilin was removed from Fecto Elfilis right before this. But before Fecto Elfilis can destroy everything, Kirby mouthful modes himself onto a semi-truck and obliterates Fecto Elfilis.
Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bomb is shaped like a deer.
This ending is absolutely insane and is easily the most unhinged Kirby ending, and I love it so much. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you've probably been expecting me to talk about a Mario RPG in this video, and that would be a fair thing to assume. And my pick for the most unhinged Mario RPG ending would have to be Mario & Luigi Brothership. There are a lot of other unhinged endings to the Mario RPGs, like Balletta, Super Dimentio, and Fawful with the Dark Star, but Reclusa and Brothership easily takes the cake. Literally nothing could prepare you for how absolutely insane this villain was. Reclusa was hinted throughout the game at various points, with a mysterious egg showing up at Zocket's fortress, but it turns out that Zocket was only a pawn in Reclusa's game, a mind-controlled Cosette making preparation for Reclusa's takeover. But Reclusa, as a character, is the embodiment of loneliness. He will do whatever it takes to destroy worlds with bonds, friendships, and connections, to the point where he will literally trap people into these flowers that simulate their perfect reality, while they slowly starve to death. Yeah, I think this easily makes him the most evil Mario RPG villain because of this, even beating out the Shroobs, which literally suck the life essence out of the Toads. But Reclusa isn't just deranged, he's also wacky and silly, comparable to Fawful. His playful design and impression perfectly contrasts how evil he actually is, which is something that I love about the Mario RPG villains. After Mario and Luigi collect enough bond energy to fill the bonding can, the Solitary barrier is broken, and they make their way toward Reclusa. But before they can reach him, they mysteriously wake up in the Mushroom Kingdom, which seems like the problem was miraculously solved for them, but things start to get uncanny. Everyone seems nicer than they usually are, and even Bowser and his minions were willingly nice. Everything seemed a little too perfect. Then, everything slowly started glitching out, and Reclusa appeared. It turns out that Mario and Luigi were trapped in the same simulation that most other Concordians were trapped in, which is absolutely insane to see in a Mario game, just with how everything was kind of portrayed here. After Mario and Luigi break out of the simulation and reach Reclusa, things are still pretty unhinged. Over the course of his boss fight, he keeps getting more desperate, taking drastic measures to take down the bros, like controlling the entire Solitary and locking himself into the Weeping Court. He straight up crashes out during the final phase as well. Overall, this is a pretty crazy ending for the Mario RPGs, and honestly, I think it would be hard for Acquire to top this. This was incredible. Earthbound's ending is a pretty expected choice, but it doesn't make it any less of an unhinged classic. I was debating on including Mother 3 instead, but honestly, that game's ending is more depressing than unhinged. I'm sure most of you know how the ending goes, but if you're not too familiar with Earthbound, Ness, Paula, Jeff, and Pooh have to travel back in time to the Cave of the Past to stop Gygus. But the Phase Distorter destroys living things when used, so their souls are uploaded into robot bodies. I like how all of the robots look the same, aside from Ness, who keeps his hat. But once they reach the distant past, things start to get eerie, even more so than prior areas of the game. Once they reach the end of the cave, they make it to the Devil's Machine, which contains Gygus, and an image of Ness's head appears on it, which is really creepy. Then, Porky Minch appears out of nowhere, teaming up with Gygus, and he's also piloting a spider-like mech. With Porky trying to stop Ness from defeating Gygus just to spite Ness throughout the entire game, this final standoff was pretty fitting, but pretty unhinged at the same time. Not to mention that the battle music goes incredibly hard, honestly one of my all-time favorite battle themes. But after you fight Porky, he turns off the Devil's Machine, revealing Gygus' true form, and calling his true form unhinged would be an understatement. This is one of the most insane and disturbing things in a Nintendo game ever. It's practically the embodiment of pure evil. Even the music is incredibly unsettling. During the boss fight itself, after enough damage is dealt, Gygus becomes invincible, and you can only defeat it using prayers from Paula. All of this makes for a very impactful boss fight. I really don't think Earthbound could have capped off its wackiness with anything better than this. Finally, we have a game that you might not be expecting, Chibi-Robo. At face value, this game seems to be about a little robot cleaning a house and doing tasks for a family. But this game is so much more than that. This game is honestly one of the most unhinged games I've ever played, and I mean that in the best way possible. During this game, you have to save a family from a divorce, help toys who have been given life by aliens, and defeat spider robots. I absolutely get why people love this game so much. It is incredibly underrated, and there's so much personality and so much going on. But the ending of this game is nearly a perfect ending to all of this chaos. Chibi-Robo initially finds a larger robot in the game called Giga-Robo, which was powered off due to an energy crisis, and was also missing a leg, which is something we find early on. But later on, the aliens have a time machine, so he can go back to the past and find a code to the briefcase containing the leg. When Chibi-Robo opens the briefcase, large spy doors emerge and capture the family. The spy doors were developed by George Sanderson, the dad, and when he left the company, they were reprogrammed to be hostile against the Chibi-Robos. While the family was captured, Chibi-Robo had to take down the large spy doors, as well as Queen Spydor, who's fused with all of the electronics in the house to create an amalgamation. This is honestly exactly what I imagined a final boss of Chibi-Robo to be like, and it fits so well, despite this game not really having any other bosses. Then, once Chibi-Robo has the leg and the charger, Giga-Robo is powered on and is finally able to wish for infinite energy from the aliens, which is given to him as well as the other robots. It's definitely a crazy ending that not a lot of people would expect from this game, but it's really interesting, and it makes this game very memorable. Anyways, those are the endings from Nintendo games that I consider to be the most unhinged. I feel like having really wacky and crazy endings to games can help them to be a lot more memorable. And some of these became some of my all-time favorite Nintendo games partially due to how good the presentation of these games were. And keep in mind that this video only included games that I've played, so there may be some crazy endings that I've missed. So let me know what you consider to be the most unhinged Nintendo endings down in the comments. And anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!